Why am I dressed up in morning clothes when I'm talking about seven deadly sins? I just wanted to dress up today, and this is the outfit that I came up with. The seven deadly sins, also known as the cardinal sins, have been used in various forms of media, including but not limited to movies, anime, and even an America's Next Top Model photo shoot theme. Hi, hello, I'm Kathy. I love everything about movies, watching them, talking about them, making random video essays about them. There will be no video essay today because I desperately need a break. So I know this video idea isn't necessarily new or groundbreaking, but I've seen a bunch of templates popping up on Reddit and Letterboxd. However, I haven't seen that many on YouTube, so I thought a themed movie recommendation list would be fun to do. For each of the 7 vices, I will choose one movie that embodies the sin. I'll try my best to keep the plot summary as spoiler-free as possible, but most likely I will spoil a tiny bit of the plot while I'm talking about why I picked the movie, but I'm not going to reveal anything big or any plot twists. I will try to stay away from that. If you don't want to know anything, you can just exit out of this video and click into the Letterboxd companion list that I have linked below. I'm not going to box myself in with particular genres or anything. This list will reflect my movie taste, which is all over the place. So let's begin. We're starting off strong with our first sin, which is lust. And my pick is 1994's Captives, directed by Angela Pope. Here we have a dentist going through a messy divorce, and she throws herself into her work to cope and begins working at a local prison. There she meets a hot and probably dangerous prisoner, played by a 30-something, very good-looking Tim Roth. She begins to fall for him, and things start to get messy as they become intertwined together. But there's still one lingering question. What crime did he commit, and is he innocent? The tagline on the poster literally says, "A passion so consuming it transforms you and makes you do the unbelievable, the unimaginable, the unthinkable." The reason why I picked this movie is because lust is the driving force of the movie, and it's what pushes the plot forward. And honestly, who could blame her when Tim Roth looks like this? This particular movie is the one that solidified my lust slash love for Tim Roth. There's also a lot of really good scenes, and while the scenes are a little bit on the spicier side, they're not explicit. You can tell this is done by a female director. The whole thing caters to the feminine gaze. It's the way she frames things, and her focusing on Tim Roth's eyes, because I think that's a huge part of it, just him staring into her. It's like the tiny subtle things that makes you go oh my god. There's actually no nudity from what I remember, but make no mistake, this is a horny ass movie. I like that it's not over the top, has a bunch of nudity for no reason. If you love toxic sexual tension, this movie is for you. I will say that it's hard to find this movie streaming anywhere. I don't even remember where I initially watched it the first place, but it was so long ago. But if you encounter it in the wild, please let me know, because I need to rewatch this movie. Every time I go into a used DVD store, I'm always looking for it because I know they have it on DVD, because I need a physical version of it so I can watch it anytime I want. Next up, we have Gluttony, and my pick is 2022's The Menu, directed by Mark Mylod. Since this is a more recent pick, a lot of you might have watched it already, but if you never watched The Menu before, you're in for a treat. We have a bunch of wealthy people traveling to a private island just to taste a fancy-ass meal cooked by a famous chef. Tyler is the ultimate foodie fanboy, and he brings Margot, who is played by the beautiful Anya Taylor-Joy. Then some strange, out-of-the-ordinary things begin to happen during their multi-course meal, and many juicy secrets are revealed during their time there. There's a working theory that each one of the dining guests represents one of the 7 deadly sins, and I thought that was so perfect. I've linked the explainer article below if you've already seen the movie and want to read up on it. At the end of the day, food is still the centerpiece of this film, and ultimately this movie is about the overindulgence of food and our relationship with food in general. To these guests, the chef's food isn't just a meal, it's become a status symbol, and it's mutated into something that goes beyond basic needs. Tyler specifically is the reason why I pulled this movie, because he idolizes the food, the world, the pretentiousness, and he prioritizes his quote-unquote need to eat good food over literally everything else. And that severe mindset is why I'm choosing this movie for Gluttony. Next up is Greed. This is my retro sci-fi pick, and even though it's been referenced and spoiled in pop culture a million times. I still enjoyed it a lot on my first watch. Soylent Green is a 1973 dystopian thriller that's set in 2022, funnily enough. The wealthy live in comfortable apartments with clean water and other luxuries. Everyone else has to have roommates and stand in line to get clean water. The masses can only afford to eat highly processed food wafers created by the Soylent Corporation. We follow Detective Thorne, who's investigating a murder, and he digs up some things that he may not want to know. Greed is defined by Merriam-Webster as a selfish or excessive desire for more of something than is needed. This film is filled to the brim with corporate greed, and it's sadly relevant today, maybe even more so. You see how the prioritization of profits over people causes this class divide and dehumanization of the poorer people. The corporation only sees people as numbers / profit, and their excessive hoarding causes suffering for others, and that's why I'm choosing this movie for greed. For Sloth, I'm choosing the 1960s movie La Dolce Vita, directed by Federico Fellini. Set in Rome, Italy, this movie features many of the iconic landmarks, including the Trevi Fountain, shot in black and white, but don't let that deter you. It's such a beautiful movie. Our main character is Marcello, who is a tabloid journalist who dreams of becoming a novelist, but chases celebrities TMZ style instead. La Dolce Vita doesn't necessarily have a straight plot. It kind of meanders back and forth and has sections that feel super different from each other. A huge part of this movie is just the main character drifting aimlessly in life. He doesn't change that much throughout the story. Like, he doesn't have like a dramatic character arc or anything. You kind of see him wander in the same situations, and a lot of them feel a little bit repetitive. He surrounds himself with a variety of society people who are narcissistic, ridiculous, and shallow. It feels like he's just procrastinating and distracting himself with frivolous things, all while life is passing him by. But he still has that idea that he wants to become a great writer and a great novelist and all that stuff. He doesn't do anything about it. Like, he just kind of like just says it, like living life and doing the same comfortable things instead of trying to achieve those dreams. For Wrath, I chose 2014's Gone Girl, directed by David Fincher. I've assumed you watched this movie already, but I'll still do a quick summary. Gone Girl sounds like a typical true crime documentary. We have a beautiful missing wife, an apathetic, slightly suspicious husband, and a full-blown media frenzy. After Amy goes missing on their 5th wedding anniversary, the husband, Nick, becomes the prime suspect. As the movie goes on, the audience gets more background on their relationship and how things spiral out of control. Maybe he's not so innocent, but maybe his wife, Amy, has some secrets of her own. Gone Girl is based on the book by Gillian Flynn, and the first time I watched it, my jaw was on the floor. To see sweet Rosamund Pike, who played Jane in the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie, also play Amy Dunn, was frankly terrifying. Like, the duality of these two characters. I love the range. For Wrath, I could have chosen from a ton of different movies, but I specifically wanted to look for a movie that, number one, had a female character at the center of the story, and number two, I wanted the rage to be paired with an underlying ice cold, chill you to the bone kind of malice, because I think that's even scarier than just flat out pure rage. Her anger isn't just like a spur of the moment kind of thing. It's been like building for years and like rotting in resentment, and I wanted a movie that encapsulated that, and I couldn't find one that was better than Gone Girl. But if you have any suggestions, let me know, because I love a story about feminine rage. I don't know what that says about me, but I enjoy those movies a lot. Our next sin is envy, and for that I am picking the 1945 movie Leave Her to Heaven, directed by John M. Stahl. This movie kind of starts out like many old movies. We have two strangers meeting on a train. She's a beautiful socialite with a piercing gaze and has a beautiful outfit to match, and he is just a writer. They find out they're going to the exact same place in New Mexico and start becoming interested in each other and eventually begin to fall in love. However, one party is, let's just say, more invested than the other. This is a story filled with obsession, interesting characters, and of course, really gorgeous clothes. The costume design is really great here. I was jealous of her entire wardrobe. Right at the beginning, someone says, Of all the 7 deadly sins, jealousy is the most deadly. It's also really captivating to watch because while it's in color, it has this 1940s noir vibe. There's a lot of scenes shot in natural settings, which adds some unnerving juxtaposition of the beautiful scenery alongside human nature at its worst. I don't want to spoil the story, but I just love how they let the character be just evil. The jealousy is unrelenting and it's really fascinating and horrifying to watch at the same time. Leave Her to Heaven certainly doesn't hold back, and it's not afraid to go to dark places. And I also think it's beautifully shot. If you're not used to watching old movies, I still think this is a good one to start if the story interests you. And now we've arrived at the final sin, pride. I'm choosing the 1992 movie Death Becomes Her, directed by Robert Zemeckis. This is a dark comedy. It stars both Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, plus Bruce Willis, so stacked cast there. Madeline, an aging starlet, ends up stealing Helen's fiancé and marries him, causing Helen to have a mental breakdown and eventually start planning her revenge. Years later, at her book release party, Helen rises from the ashes looking all young and hot in an attempt to steal the man back. What kind of witchcraft did she dabble in, and what does it have to do with this mysterious woman with half-naked manservants in a giant manor? Damn, I want to be her when I grow up. If you watched Sabrina Carpenter's Taste video, there's many references to this exact movie. This movie has everything, including hilarious dialogue, lovely costuming, and good old-fashioned murder. What more could you ask for? Originally, I had this movie down for envy, but thinking about it, this movie could also fall under pride as well. Yes, they're jealous of each other, but if you dig deeper, pride is the center of the conflict, in my opinion. Pride is commonly defined as an excessive love of one's own excellence. Both of these women desire youth, and they will do anything to make sure they stay young and beautiful. We start the movie at one tipping point, but honestly, their frenemy status must have been going on for many, many years. Both women make reactive decisions in an effort to seem superior. It's a tug of war that becomes less about the actual husband and morphs into a need to like one-up each other, trying to elevate their status to, seem superior than the other person, and having them chase beauty and youth and looking a certain way is definitely 100% tied to pride and the way you think about yourself and the way you want other people to look at you and interpret you, all that stuff. So those are my 7 movie recommendations paired with the 7 deadly sins. I hope you found a movie that you wanted to watch tonight. Definitely comment below with what movies you would pick for each sin. Follow me on Letterboxd. I always create a companion list for my recommendation videos, but I also post other dumb, silly reviews. Subscribe if you want, but only if you want.